what I've come to discover is that this word, this new English word vegan, which was coined by Donald Watson back in 1944, is actually a modern iteration of an ancient spiritual teaching. The word that very often comes to mind is ahimsa, which means nonviolence. And the basic teaching of nonviolence is that the living core of the great spiritual traditions of the world and what enlightened sages and saints and mystics and wise people have always emphasized, which is as long as I harm others for my own benefit, I actually harm myself more than I ever harm them. This basic idea, and yet I realize that I've been born into a society where I've been taught essentially to ignore that and to try to compete and get what I want, and that certain beings who are less able to defend themselves are expendable. They're just sort of props in the drama, the big drama that where humans are the most important beings and we're here to dominate the earth and dominate animals, and to realize that that whole story has the seeds of its own destruction in it, and that it's time for us to co-create a new story. That this new story is actually an ancient story, but it's a living story. It lives in our bones, and I think I've noticed for myself as a musician, if I go into nature and listen deeply to the trees and the birds, and I go back to the piano and I play music, and the melodies that come and the harmonies and the rhythms that are inspired by the earth and by the animals and by the trees, there's a music of healing and awakening that I think is always sounding forth on this earth. And we unfortunately are trained in many ways to ignore it, to be too busy trying to get to the next appointment. If we can stop and listen to nature, to animals, to birds, to our own hearts, to the rhythms of the cycles of life all around us and within us, we can reconnect with the ancient wisdom that's always singing in ourselves. And I think the beauty is that it's a song of joy. It's a song of immense celebration. That's the truth. People so often think that going vegan is giving up something. And it's just so funny to me now when I see it, that the only thing I give up is unhappiness and disease and misery and fear and complaining, that actually it looks like discipline, that I won't eat this and so forth, and yet it's actually natural to live in a way that is essentially blessing the world. Because when we create gardens and we create orchards and we create ways of growing food in harmony with the earth, it's organic, where we're eating whole foods, we're nurturing, we're working in the cycles of nature, we're engaging essentially work that is feminine in the sense of caring and cooperating with the natural forces. We're awakening out of this way of doing plant agriculture, where we do it the same way as we do animal agriculture. Animal agriculture is about dominating, exploiting, and forcing our will upon animals. And so since we live in that type of a society, we do plant agriculture the same way, with genetically engineered products and pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides. And so just awaken out of that whole thing and realize that we can feed everyone on a fraction of the land. We can allow habitat to come back, oceans and rivers to come back, the ecosystems to heal, wildlife to celebrate their lives, us to be fed healthy food. We can create the foundation of a world that we can only imagine. But there's, again, nothing stopping. There is no obstacle in our way except the inertia of what we've been doing and creating institutions that profit off that. But as we as individuals, instead of fighting against a corrupt system, create a new system. I think this is very important, to embody what veganism is and then create something new based on the foundation of the understanding of the interconnectedness of all life, and that at a deep level we're here on this planet for just a few decades, really. No matter how healthy we eat, we're just here for a few decades. So for the short time we're here, we have a precious opportunity of a human birth to use that opportunity in a way that we're not frittering it away in pursuits that are just shallow, but actually contributing the precious life that we have and the time that we have to lay the foundations for a world where peace and freedom and justice are actually possible. The reward is in the doing. The reward is in itself. We don't need any other reward. Just doing that is it. And we find as a side effect that we have better health, that we have more harmonious relationships and everything else. But we don't have to do that to get that. It's actually living our lives from this awareness. And this is essentially, you could call it spiritual, but it's just our true nature spontaneously expressing as who we are.